Hi, this is Michael Kirsch. I'm here with Dave Christie and Bill Roberts, candidates of the National LaRouche slate. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Michael.
All right, so Bill and Dave, they're going to be going on a tour to some city near you. We're going to be talking about your trip today, and we're going to be looking at the impact it's going to have on the future of the nation. Because the next few weeks, we're doing a national mobilization with this NAWAPA 21 special report. And actually, just today, we launched a resolution campaign, which you'll find a summary of the essential elements of the NAWAPA 21 special report, and a resolution at the end to call that your city council, that your machinist union, that your industry, your firm, calls upon the members of your state, your elected members of Congress and state officials to enact this plan. So, can you guys tell us about this trip you're going to be taking?
Well, basically, over the next period here, starting May 1st, and then over the next 2 weeks and the build up till then, Bill will be coming out, to my area, which is I'm running for Congress in Washington State, the 9th Congressional District. Bill is in Michigan, outside of Detroit, in the 11th. Is it the 11th Congressional District? So Bill will be coming out for a week to do a series of meetings with unions, industry leaders, in the area largely where the bulk of NAWAPA will be constructed along the West Coast. And, when you're dealing with the Seattle area, you are not just simply dealing with that area. It's the Puget Sound region is really an integrated region, but really much of the business that's done, say, in Alaska is actually people who either have offices in Seattle or, it's...
I don't think everybody's aware of that fact.
Yeah, well, Alaska's way up there, and really this is sort of the first link to civilization, and which has often been seen as this end of the road point. But under NAWAPA, under the Eurasian Land Bridge, bringing in through the Bering Strait tunnels that the Russians have proposed, that we cooperate around that link. But all of a sudden, the Puget Sound area becomes incorporated into much more of an international hub, and obviously with NAWAPA, where much of this activity is going to take place. Idaho is really one of the core of activity of the NAWAPA program, and so anyway, Bill will be out in this area, in the Washington State and other organizing that we'll be doing, meeting with, like I say, unions, industry, people, etc. But then, going back to Detroit, I'll be heading to, we'll do a town hall meeting at the end on the 5th of May, and then 1 week later will be a town hall meeting in Detroit on the 12th.
Right.
And I'll be heading to do some meetings with Bill, with probably some of the very same unions and in some cases some of the same industry people and whatnot. And
yeah, with the idea being that the Seattle area is where much of the NAWAPA, very large construction sites are in the Pacific Northwest up to Alaska. So the labor unions there, the companies there will be directly proximate to the construction areas. But even though a lot of the construction is taking place in that area, that's not the extent of the fun, because it's going to be the Midwest and the steel, the machine tool capacity. That's where a lot of the employment in the auxiliary industrial base that's going to have to be built up is going to come from. And so we're going to be doing a series of meetings with probably state legislators, people who realize that there's not any funding coming into infrastructure, that you have to revitalize this area and bring them into this national mission. So that'll be the following week. We're going to be doing that.
So first you're going out to Seattle, then the following week.
yeah.
And yeah, the special report says a lot of this, but this time schedule of the construction of the plan will bring in a lot of labor groups and industries and engineers and construction craft and everybody else in that area, because the site preparation to begin with is going to be the trunk of the plan, which is the sawtooth lift system in Idaho, where the water is pumped into the Great Basin after it's collected in the north, but also this whole Rocky Mountain Trench reservoir system that would be agreed upon with Canada, would be also prepared as a reservoir. So there'd be a series of dams there, and then the Sawtooth Lift. And so we're bringing in people to essentially clear the way, but also the first 5 years we can get a rail line. While we're working things out, we can get the completion of the Alaska-Canada rail line. That will be engineered for this project, but will also just be able to be put into motion right away. So it is the case here that you guys are right on the big impact area.
Yeah. If I could just say one quick thing, which is that, and then you look at where the national slate is with Diane and Rachel over, Rachel's in Boston, Diane's in New Jersey, and that whole triangle to Detroit and the Midwest area, that whole industrial belt will be activated with NAWAPA. And then you look at some of the scientific capabilities, the question of NASA and being brought in, satellite imagery, so on, and you look at Keisha's role in Texas and her fight to save NASA, impeach Obama, which was how she won the primary in 2010. But you begin to realize this is a national mission, and in some sense international mission when you start putting the kind of international cooperative arrangements together as sovereign nations. So, but that idea of the national mission is what's behind the slate and what we're recruiting to, and bring more people on board to represent the only policy that could work at this point, which is a very simple platform. Glass-Steagall, bankrupt its international banking cartel, the credit system to restore sovereignty to our ability to develop the future of our nation, and NAWAPA, and really the projects that feed into that as being the core of the recovery. So just wanted to make that point that we have sort of the core of the activity in our regions, but it will be a national mission.
Well, I think in the industrial people of the United States have some of the clearest sense of what real physical profit is, as opposed to this funny, merely fictitious stuff that has been thrown around for many years. So the pulling together of this kind of team of industries who will benefit from this project, but not just from the sense of being able to be employed, but from the sense of being involved in something for the next generation as a whole, taking part in the greatest act that will reestablish us as a major industrial power. That's where they are. They're right here. They're in the Midwest, in Detroit. They're in this area of the Northwest, which was in fact created out of Roosevelt's development of the Columbia Basin. All of the aluminum factories that came from the water, all the farmers also. But in what you guys are going to be tackling up here in the next 2 weeks, I think it's relevant to review. Canal excavation, massive earth-moving equipment there. All the operating engineers will be involved. The tunnel boring. In Idaho especially, massive tunnels. We're talking 30, 40 feet in diameter, some 50 miles in width and length, mostly average on 40 probably. About 10 tunnels just in this whole system. Then you take a look at all of the crane companies that are going to be involved, all this other heavy lifting, heavy moving, the new roads, the new rails. Every kind of category of employment you can think of is going to be put to work.
Heck, we haven't built roads since the 1970s on a big scale.
Oh, yeah?
Bring it back.
Okay. Well, there you go. Most people don't even realize that. I mean, we've been repairing roads, and here you're saying we haven't even built new major roads since the 1970s. So all these kinds of machines that you have to bring out of the woodshed because you haven't done something new, that's what we're talking about employing. So it's the existing jobs, but also whole new construction. But it just, the tunnels, the power stations, the aluminum and the steel. The Northwest has aluminum. Why don't we use it? This is a perfect way to go for that. The steel is in the Midwest. If you look at a map of the nation, you can't just, a steel mill just doesn't pop up anywhere.
Right.
It's got a legacy of, it was tied to a project. Aluminum plant doesn't pop up anywhere. So there's all these things which were a legacy of the past U.S. generation of industry, and all of them were actually part of an infrastructure grid and building manufacturing for a purpose. So you got people out there, and these guys, you're going to be flying in, descending upon them, in these two regions of the country. Now let's just ask the question though: how does this benefit the common person? Just little Joe on the street. Why should he be excited about building this project? And
well, you don't have to be a heavy equipment operator or own an industry, a major manufacturing firm, to realize that this is going to benefit you directly. I mean, if you have a Rotary Club, if your city council, people in general, old people who need their Social Security, people who don't want to see their Medicare get cut, everyone has problems that are because of a top-down collapse of our economic system. And this is the top-down solution for this. If you don't have health care, what's the problem? Money. If your Social Security is being cut by the Obama administration, the problem is money. The problem is that we haven't had economic growth, and the country's on the verge of bankruptcy. Unless we have a revival of a credit system, unless you have something to put people back to work and create the context in which we can actually meet these obligations that we have to the population. So if you think that you've got your little problem, really it's a big problem. And NAWAPA is big, but it's big enough that it does address the needs, because of what it's going to do for the country, of what people's problems in the economy are. So this is the thing to get behind right now, and I think that's what this resolution really needs to be taken up just nationwide as a movement.
And you can find that resolution on the front page of our website. Yeah, people have been hoodwinked to think that there was a little blip in a financial system which was otherwise great, and the discussion on C-SPAN and everywhere else is the fixing of that and some recovery that's going to come back if the financial markets can be appeased and we can flood enough so that the euro system doesn't wash over the tub. But the realization of it's been this whole last 30-year period of non-physical construction tied to some kind of credit generation system, which is what you're talking about here. You can't have credit if you can't build anything. If you don't build anything, then you can't actually, you're not capable of being good on your word that you're good for this credit that was issued, or you're good for the loan that you took in. The ability to have major industry and put enough activity into motion is the basis to then make good upon any of these debts that we think are valid to fund, or any credit that we put into motion. Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of thing we've got it outlined in this report. It's all there, and it's tagged at the end of this resolution as part of, it is the resolution as part of what we are saying can be implemented with a plan for a whole new public credit system.
Mm-hmm. Just make one final point, which is the alternative is what we see now, which is the use of financial paper to effectively enslave nations and impose austerity conditions. This is what we've seen under the last 40 years of globalization, the systematic takedown of a physical economy, the creation of this various financial bubbles, which have now culminated in the explosion of these bubbles, but shackling nations to this international banking cartel, the British imperial system, to make good on this paper through austerity measures, through cutting the living standards of the people, like what we're seeing in Greece, what we'll be seeing in Spain, frankly what we're seeing here. 1 in 7 Americans is on food stamps. This has to end, and taking control of our sovereign banking system again and restoring our ability to produce and provide for the coming generations is what this resolution really is about. There's nothing less than a mission to crush this imperial financial cartel forever, this British imperial system, and restore sovereignty to our nation and work with other nations who will be sovereign as well.
We're wasting the legacy of the United States. We're wasting the lives of the people. We're wasting all of our built-up strength by this ideology of monetarism. That's wasteful. People want to talk about spending, saving, so forth. That's the real waste, and so we can buck that system here with this proposal. So these gentlemen here running for Congress on the national slate are going to be visiting you soon, and we hope that you set up a meeting and get on board with their proposal, because it's going to, as you say, get you the requirements you need for your own future. So thanks for joining us today, and my name is Michael Kirsch again, and we'll see you soon.